Hey everyone, welcome back to Low Budget Logistics, your logistics and supply chain explainer. Today, we are going to be talking about a very complicated subject, but please don't click away. I see how long y'all are watching my videos for, and on average it's about 2 minutes, so I've only got 2 minutes to capture your attention in this extremely dense subject, which will be fun. I promise you, parcel negotiations are fun. Let's talk a bit about what they are, why they exist, and how the world of sort of parcel negotiations is complex. Will this be me explaining my job and trying to further my own interests and maybe helping someone in the future understand a bit about what it is that I do and why I am important to a company? Yes, yes, this will absolutely be that, because there's a lot of things, a lot of work and effort that goes into these, and you need to sort of understand them to have an appreciation for all that a logistics manager brings to a company, and why we are important. So that being said, let's sort of dig into the subject. Let's talk about what parcel negotiations are and why they're important. So negotiations are parcel. The parcel companies are what I'm talking about: UPS, FedEx, DHL, the post office to some extent, regionals like OnTrack, LaserShip, which are both the same company now, LSO, let's see, who else do I know? Viho, Shopify, Pandion, I know you, there's Herb-E. There's lots of different companies that exist in the parcel space, and they are all fighting for the same pool of volume, right? Which is typically going to be the most important part, the most profitable set of the parcel volume is e-commerce volume. Now, what e-commerce volume is, it's when you order something off of Amazon and it gets delivered to your door. That's e-commerce. It's an e-commerce transaction. You're going to buy one thing. It's going to go to one house. They're going to be relatively small. And the good news, in that world, a small shipment is a profitable shipment if you can make it profitable. Where it becomes a little bit more difficult in the parcel environment, especially in the e-commerce world, is that when customers live further away from where your hubs are, then it becomes difficult to deliver to them. We've talked about that in a whole other video. It was the surcharges video, which I posted earlier this week. But just know, all of that has to get negotiated. So on both sides, both companies are incentivized to negotiate with one another. The parcel shippers, so an e-commerce company, the person doing the shipping is incentivized because they want to get better rates. They want to get lower prices on their shipments. And on the other side, the parcel carriers, these guys, are incentivized because they want to keep your volume. And so they understand that negotiations are a way to keep your volume and to help them increase their overall amount of what's going on, what's going through their system. So that's what they are. We should also preface the rest of the conversation by saying that parcel rates for every carrier are always posted online. Now, these are extremely dense booklets that are hundreds of pages, and they outline every kind of shipment that you could ever think about doing in their company, and it assigns a price to them. So every weight, every distance, every country, every surcharge, every fuel, everything that you could do, it's outlined there. Those are obviously extremely difficult to read and they're extremely boring. I personally I try not to look at them except once a year when they're published to know what the overall rate of increase is going to be from one year to the next, or year over year. So right now it's 2023. We are still operating under 2023's GRI. That was actually posted last year in October. So in 2022, October, the big boys, I'm really talking about UPS and FedEx here, they posted their expected increase, and they normally take effect. They're normally posted in October in the fall time period, and they normally take effect on January 1st. That can change. You should be aware of it. You should know the day that the GRI rates become effective. But anyways, GRI is global rate increase, general rate increase. And that just sort of like saying, hey, here's what your price was, here's what it will be. It is what it is. So you take so GRI, that's posted. All right, so we've talked about GRI, we've talked about at least one side of it. We just talked about the contract itself. And now it is a thing of beauty. There is a lot of misdirection, there's a lot of obfuscation, there's a lot of like legalese in one. But ultimately, if you know where to look, you can start to see where things are. And so we'll sort of go through that. I'm giving you years worth of experience in this video for free. And there's a whole industry of parcel consultants who will help you negotiate your parcel. If you want me to negotiate your parcel, I would love to help you. I have a LinkedIn page, reach out. I'd love to help if you're interested. But anyways, parcel negotiation. So basically what happens is you're going to go to the carrier and you're going to say, hey, let's negotiate. I want to move my volume with you. Let's get into it. So they'll go, yeah, great, let's do it. They'll talk to a pricing team. They'll ask you for some information like your yearly volume, where you're shipping to, those types of things. There's lots of data that they need up front to do their calculations. They employ a lot of mathematicians. They employ a lot of financial analysts. They do all that stuff. And typically it's best to let them do all the number crunching because you have other things to do as a logistics manager. You have so many things to do. I'm with you. I feel you. So you've made them do their thing. They're going to come back and the salesperson's going to say, hey, got you some good rates, buddy. They're going to slip you about 20 pieces of paper that will be extremely confusing. None of it will make sense. That will be intentional. They will have hidden a lot of information there. But we're going to talk about the sort of the main three things on a contract that you need to be aware of and need to look for. So we'll start with number one. I hope you've enjoyed my hastily made prompts here. It's low budget, guys. We're working on time. So the first thing you need to look for is your volume. Now, volume tiers are going to provide you with an estimate of how much the carrier is expecting to make on your shipments. Now, this is where things have started to things have been weird. They get really weird here because your volume is given in amount in as far as like dollars, and it's gross revenue, not profit. That's hard to understand because you're getting discounts. That was all intentional. They want that because what they're going to give you is they're going to say, hey, if you give me this amount of volume, I'll give you this discount off of our published rates. Discounts are percents off of the type of shipping you're doing. You see how this is confusing because GRI increases every year. And so every year your prices are going to change. And every year will be more confusing. They're going to add more surcharges. They're going to do a bunch of different stuff. That's intentional, right? We talked about that. So volume, the other fun thing about volume is, again, they're based off of gross revenue, and typically it's based off of a rolling 52-week average, right? There's 52 weeks in a year, so essentially a rolling year. But how do you know what that number is? You don't, because you've got discounts. You're just paying, whatever you're paying on an invoice is going to be net, not gross. And how do you know? You don't. You have to ask your carrier what your numbers are. Typically the volume incentives will be based off of kind of broad numbers. There will be incentives if you go up, so you get more discounts if you increase your volume. Let's say you have a really great year, some influencer on YouTube who talks about logistics, props up your product, and you just shoot through the roof. Great. Then they'll give you more discounts. There's space in there for that. The other side, if you have a bad year, let's say, again, that same YouTuber just trashes your product. If you go down, you will get less discounts. There's lots of stuff in there. Again, it's a fugazi. It's a number that you will never know because you can't know it. They know this. They know that. You don't. Now you do because you're watching the video. So if you ship less, you get less discounts. If you ship more, you get more discounts. That's as easy as I can explain volume incentives. All right, number 2, surcharges. So as we discussed in that other video, again, if you haven't watched it, go watch it right now. Surcharges are fun. They exist across the spectrum of things and ways that you could ship. We talked a bit about the different types of them, the big heavy hitters in the other video. Go watch that. I'm not going to discuss that here, but know that surcharges are fun. So your typical parcel pricing is based off of how big or how heavy your stuff is and where it's going and how long it will take them to effectively drive your shipment from A to B. That's easy. The good thing about surcharges is that they remain static. They're the same price no matter what you're doing. So DOS will be a fixed number. It will be a set thing. You can know what it is. Now, it will change every year as GRI continues to march on and increase. It will increase, but it will at least stay the same every year. You don't have to worry about the zip code you're going to, or the zone you're going to, or the weight shipment. You don't have to worry about any of that. You just know, oh, if I'm going to have a residential surcharge, it will always be 50 cents or $1. So that's the nice thing about surcharges. Surcharges, though, on the contract are individually outlined, and you have to negotiate each one of them individually. So this is where it really is a recommendation to know your product and to know exactly what you are shipping and who you're shipping to. This is easily found on your invoices. Typically, if you get like an Excel type one, you can do a pivot table where you can see what your heavy surcharges are, or any salesperson that you're going to be talking to. Everyone that I've talked to has been fantastic. I have loved all of my salespeople. They'll be able to tell you which surcharges you specifically use. If they're good, if they're really good, they will have already given you a discount in the sort of the first contract that they provide to you. So then you can go, okay, I need to start negotiating those items. And so you'll look and you'll say, okay, I want to lower, again, they will be in a similar format where they will be percentages off of the published rates. And so you can relatively easily calculate that number, right? 25% off of $10 or whatever. It's a simple calculation. You shouldn't do it though. You should make them do it. Make them tell you what those numbers are. And it'll be static. You will have to do each one individually. And a lot of times in the surcharges, they will be a little bit less, willing to negotiate on those. Because those actually do cost them money, and that's where if they negotiate away in one area, they're going to negotiate harder in another one. They're going to take a stronger stance in another side. Know that when you go in. Ultimately, the salesperson that you're talking to has a number in their head that they are trying to hit. They have an overall like profitability rating or number that they want to get for the company. So you need to find out what that is, and they'll fiddle with the contract in different ways, but ultimately they're aiming for that same target, and that's important to know because you may think that you're getting a great deal, but you might not be. All right, so surcharges are fun. We've talked about them. They make up a bulk of the contract. It's a joy. All right, so the third section on, or at least third most important thing that you should look at on your contract is called DIM. And we discussed it in that earlier video, but it's important to talk about here because DIM will affect every single thing that you do with your carrier. As we discussed, they're pricing you based off of either the physical weight or the volume, like the cubic dimensions of the product that you're shipping. If you ship smaller stuff, DIM will not matter as much to you because your stuff will be heavier than it is big. If you ship larger things, then you really need to negotiate this part of the contract hard, again, because it will affect everything. In the world of DIM, the higher the number, the better you are. So let's caveat that. So for DIM, if you did a volume calculation, length times width times height, you get a number that you can't really equate to like pounds, because pounds are usually like single digits, sometimes they're double digits, but volume is big. So there has to be a way to bring that big number down to compare to the smaller number of weight. They do that with a divisor. So if you had a volume that was 1,000 and you divided it by 100, well, you would get 10, right? And then you could easily compare, oh, I have a 1 pound physical weight and it's 10 of this sort of made up number. I'm going to charge at 10, not at 1. So divisors are a way to make things equitable and to do a comparison easily. It's never as simple as 100 ever. So that's what that number is. The higher that it is, the better you are, because it will effectively lower the shipping rate for your products. So if you're shipping pillows, you want a huge divisor, because you're never going to weigh more than you are large. And so it's a way to kind of drop that pricing into a more manageable way. It will be important for you to have a bunch of shipments and to find ways for the carrier to be profitable by shipping all your pillows. You better have a huge reach. You better be doing a bunch of shipments, because that stuff, being big and bulky, is not profitable for them. They want what a carrier's ideal is, like jewelry that's tiny and it's going to someone's house. There's a lot of fees that are involved in that. DIM is important. It's a huge contributor to what you're going to pay each year. Unlike GRI, that one actually will not march up each year. It's not part of GRI because it is dependent on the company themselves to negotiate that specific thing. So that's one where you don't have to worry about that. That one will be static year over year. So after all that, you can see why I have so much gray hair and why it's so stressful to be in logistics, because right, everything I've already talked about, all the other videos that you've seen, that's all part of the job, as well as contract negotiations. And so it's what a fun world, especially when people don't understand what it is that I do. This is what I do. This is why I have gray hair. This is why I drink coffee all the time. Anyways, there's a couple other things that are important on a parcel contract. Most specifically, minimums. These are fun. Effectively, what it is if you had discounts that were crazy, a minimum is the least amount of money that you will be charged for a thing. What does that mean? So it means that if, let's say the posted retail price of a shipment is $10 and you have incentives and discounts that will drop that 50%, right? So from 10 to 5. But your minimum is $7. Even if you have discounts that get you to $5, they're going to charge you $7. That's your minimum. That's what you're going to pay no matter what else you have on your contract. That's a sneaky way for them to hide money into your contract. And so that's another thing where you can negotiate that number. They will be that's a difficult number to shift, but know what it is, because it will affect it. It will, to some extent, it will affect your bottom line and what you're actually paying. All right, that's it. That's a long one. This is a very deep, engrossing video. I'll be editing for a while. But please like and subscribe to the video. I know this one was very complex. Logistics is complex. Negotiations are complex. They're fun. I have a great time negotiating contracts. If you want that, let me know. Other than that, please like, subscribe to the video, leave a comment down below. We've seen some just fantastic growth in the channel. I think we're up to 83 subscribers as of the time that I'm filming this video. And it's been phenomenal. So thank you everyone for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this one, and I hope you have a fantastic day.